Have you ever wondered why some people change their entire life in a single moment, while others spend years waiting for the right time? What if the difference between staying stuck and transforming your whole future comes down to just four things? Four things you've had the power to control all along. And what if today, right now, is the moment you finally take that control back? I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing you are no longer the same person you were today. Not because life magically became easier, not because luck finally knocked on your door, but because you deliberately chose, to take control of the things that shape your destiny. The truth is, life doesn't change when circumstances change. Life changes the moment you change. And that shift begins with controlling the things most people ignore, avoid, or hand over to others without even realizing it. There are four things that determine how far you go, how strong you become, and how deeply fulfilled you feel. Four things that decide whether your life becomes a masterpiece or a missed opportunity. And the shocking part is this: these four things are not external. They're not about money, talent, connections, or advantages. They're not about being born into the right family or having the perfect environment. They're about what happens inside you, your decisions, your habits, your discipline, your mindset. The things no one else sees, but everyone eventually feels the impact of. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control what they can't control. Other people's opinions, external events, things that were never theirs to manage. And because of that, they lose the energy and clarity needed to control what actually matters. So I want you to stay with me, because the moment you shift your attention inward, the moment you reclaim these four things, your life will begin to transform faster than you can imagine. This isn't theory, this is practical, this is immediate, and this is real. When you control these four things, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop hoping and start building. You stop surviving and start leading your own life instead of waiting for someone else to lead it for you. And the best part, these four things are already yours. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need perfect timing. You only need the willingness to begin. Before we dive into the first thing you must control, I want you to pause for a moment and think about this. Everything you are experiencing in life right now, your progress, your struggles, your opportunities, your limitations, is a reflection of the standards you've been accepting. Not the standards you talk about, not the standards you wish for, but the standards you actually live by every single day. And the very first thing you must learn to control, if you want your life to transform instantly, is your mind. Because your mind is the source of every action, every decision, and every result you create. The mind is powerful, but it's also easily influenced, easily distracted, and easily manipulated. If you don't take control of it, someone else will, the world will, people will, circumstances will. And when your mind is controlled by external forces, you start living a life that doesn't belong to you. You start reacting instead of choosing. You start surviving instead of growing. You start believing stories that limit your potential instead of rewriting the ones that unlock it. Your thoughts shape your emotions. Your emotions shape your decisions. Your decisions shape your habits. And your habits shape your destiny. If your mind is filled with doubt, you will hesitate. If your mind is filled with fear, you will hold back. If your mind is filled with negativity, you will sabotage your own progress. But when you take ownership of your mind, when you decide what gets to live inside it and what doesn't, you take ownership of your future. This is why the most successful people in the world spend more time training their minds than chasing external success. They guard their thoughts the way a warrior guards their life. They understand that every day is a battle between the person they are and the person they could become. And the battlefield is always the mind. So ask yourself, what thoughts have been controlling you? What stories have you allowed to play on repeat? What doubts have you let sit in the front row of your mind? What fears have you mistaken for facts? And most importantly, what would your life look like if you replaced those thoughts with ones that strengthened you instead of weakening you? Because the moment you control your mind, everything else begins to fall into place. You gain clarity. You gain confidence. You gain courage. And suddenly, the impossible starts to look achievable. When you control your mind, you reclaim your power. And that is where transformation begins. Now that you understand the power of controlling your mind, we move to the second thing that determines the direction of your life, your focus. What you focus on expands. What you give attention to multiplies. And most people don't realize that their life isn't shaped by what they want. It's shaped by what they consistently pay attention to. Focus is the lens through which you experience the world. Two people can live the same day, face the same challenges, encounter the same setbacks, and walk away with two completely different outcomes, simply because they focused on different things. One person sees the obstacle, the other sees the opportunity. One person sees the problem, the other sees the possibility. One person sees the fear, the other sees the reason to be brave. Life doesn't change first. Focus does. The danger is that the modern world is built to steal your focus. Notifications, noise, opinions, expectations, distractions, they all pull you in 100 directions, leaving you exhausted but not fulfilled, busy but not productive, moving but not progressing. And if you don't intentionally choose what to focus on, your mind will latch onto whatever screams the loudest. Usually fear, usually doubt, usually problems. That's why so many people feel overwhelmed even when nothing is actually wrong. Their focus is scattered, and scattered focus creates a scattered life. But when you control your focus, something incredible happens. Your mind stops chasing everything and starts building something. Your energy stops leaking and starts compounding. Your progress stops being accidental and becomes intentional. You start to feel powerful because you're no longer reacting to everything. You're choosing what matters. Imagine waking up every morning with a clear direction. Imagine knowing exactly what deserves your effort and what doesn't. Imagine giving your time only to the things that align with the life you want to build. That's what happens when you take control of your focus. You create momentum. You create clarity. You create results. So ask yourself, what has been stealing your focus? What have you been giving your attention to that drains you instead of strengthens you? What distractions have disguised themselves as priorities? And what would happen if, starting today, you gave your focus only to the things that elevate your life? When you master your focus, you stop surviving the day and start shaping your future. You stop living by default and start living by design. And at that moment, transformation becomes inevitable. The third thing you must control if you want your life to transform instantly is your decisions. Not the big ones you make once in a while. Those are easy to identify. I'm talking about the small decisions you make every single day, the ones that seem insignificant, the ones you barely even notice. Because those decisions, not the rare dramatic ones, shape the direction of your life. We like to believe that transformation comes from one massive moment, one breakthrough, one opportunity, one miracle. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. Your life becomes the sum of the decisions you make repeatedly. Every decision is a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Every choice is a step either toward the life you want or away from it. Think about it. Every time you decide to show up instead of making an excuse, you cast a vote for discipline. Every time you decide to speak honestly instead of hiding behind comfort, you cast a vote for courage. Every time you decide to act even when you're afraid, you cast a vote for growth. And slowly, these small votes accumulate until they build a version of you that is unstoppable. But the opposite is also true. Every time you delay a dream because you're scared, you cast a vote for regret. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you cast a vote for stagnation. Every time you let fear decide for you, you reinforce a future you don't want to live in. The danger isn't one bad decision, it's the pattern they create. And here's the part most people never realize. Your decisions shape your identity, not the other way around. You don't become confident and then decide to take action. You take action and the confidence follows. You don't wait to feel motivated before starting. You start and motivation grows. Your decisions define who you are becoming long before the world ever sees it. So ask yourself, what decisions have you been avoiding? What choices have you been handing over to fear, to excuses, to laziness, to doubt? What decision could you make today, right now, that would move your life in a better direction? Because your future is not determined by chance. It's determined by the decisions you consistently make. When you take control of your decisions, you take control of your direction. And when you take control of your direction, you take control of your destiny. Transformation doesn't begin when your circumstances change. It begins the moment you decide differently. The fourth thing you must control, the one that often separates those who grow from those who stay stuck, is your environment. Not just the physical space around you, but the people you interact with, the energy you allow near you, the habits you reinforce, and the expectations you absorb without realizing it. Your environment is always shaping you, even when you think you're the one shaping it. Here's the truth most people ignore. You can have the right mindset, the right focus, and make the right decisions. But if your environment pulls you backward, it becomes almost impossible to move forward. You cannot grow in a place built for your old self. You cannot expand in an environment that rewards your excuses more than your potential. And you cannot rise when the people around you are committed to staying exactly where they are. Your environment is powerful because it influences your behavior without asking for permission. If you're surrounded by complainers, you start finding things to complain about. If you're surrounded by people who settle, you convince yourself settling is normal. If you're surrounded by negativity, your dreams start to shrink. But when you place yourself in an environment that pushes you, challenges you, inspires you, and expects growth from you, something inside you ignites. You feel a different standard. You breathe a different level of accountability. You start rising simply because the environment around you refuses to let you stay small. Think of a seed. Even the strongest, healthiest seed cannot grow in dry, toxic soil. It doesn't matter how much potential it has. It simply cannot thrive where the conditions don't support growth. But place that same seed in fertile soil, in the right environment, and it grows without being pushed. Your environment is your soil, determines what grows within you: fear or courage, excuses or discipline, comfort or ambition. So ask yourself, what environment have you been living in? Who do you spend your time with? Who influences your thoughts? Who gets access to your energy? Which habits are forming because of the space you're in? And most importantly, does your environment support the future you want, or does it trap you in the past you're trying to escape? You don't have to cut everyone out. You don't have to run away. But you do need to be intentional. You need to build an environment that aligns with your goals. Because when your environment supports your growth, discipline becomes easier, decisions become clearer, and transformation becomes natural, not forced. Control your environment, and you'll control the atmosphere where your future is built. Now that you understand the 4 things you must control, your mind, your focus, your decisions, and your environment, it's time to bring them together and understand how they interact. Because your life doesn't transform from controlling one of them. It transforms when all four align. And when they do, something extraordinary happens: momentum. The kind of momentum that doesn't just push you forward, but pulls you forward almost effortlessly. Momentum is what turns small changes into massive results. It's what takes discipline and turns it into identity. It's what makes progress feel natural instead of forced. But momentum never starts by accident. It starts the moment you make a deliberate shift, even if it feels small, even if it feels insignificant. One aligned thought, one aligned choice, one aligned action. That's all it takes to begin. Most people don't lack potential, they lack alignment. Their mind wants something different than their environment supports. Their focus is scattered, so their decisions are inconsistent. They dream of the future while living with habits that belong to their past. And because of that, they feel stuck. Not because they're weak, not because they're unmotivated, but because the pieces of their life are not working together. Imagine a car with 4 flat tires. It doesn't matter how powerful the engine is, it's not going anywhere. But inflate even one tire, and suddenly movement becomes possible. Inflate all 4, and now the car isn't just able to move, it's unstoppable. That's what happens when you take control of these 4 parts of your life. You go from struggling to move an inch to gliding smoothly toward your purpose. And here's the beautiful truth. You don't need to transform your entire life overnight. You only need to take control of one thing today. One thought you no longer allow into your mind. One distraction you choose to ignore. One decision you make without hesitation. One change you make in your environment. One step, one shift, one moment of courage. Transformation doesn't come from perfection. It comes from alignment and consistency. It comes from small steps repeated until they become a part of who you are. And once momentum begins, it becomes harder to stay the same than it is to grow. So ask yourself, what is one thing you can control today that will begin shifting your life in a better direction? Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, one action, one step, one moment that tells your future, I'm coming for you. Because that's how transformation begins, not with everything, but with something. There's something powerful that happens when a person decides to take responsibility for their life. Not partial responsibility, not conditional responsibility, full responsibility. Because responsibility is not a burden, it's the doorway to freedom. And this is where the next stage of your transformation begins, understanding that you are not waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to change. Most people spend years hoping things will get better. They hope circumstances shift, they hope opportunities appear, they hope motivation magically shows up. But hope without action becomes a trap. It convinces you that change is coming someday while today remains exactly the same. And nothing steals more dreams than someday. But when you take responsibility, everything changes instantly. You begin to see that your mind is yours to train, your focus is yours to direct, your decisions are yours to shape, your environment is yours to design. You stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? You stop blaming what happened and start building what's possible. You stop waiting for permission and start giving yourself permission. Taking responsibility doesn't mean taking the blame for everything. It means taking ownership of what happens next. It means saying, this is my life and I will decide how I respond, how I grow, and how I move forward. That shift is powerful because it returns the steering wheel of your destiny back into your hands. Think about this. Every great transformation in history began with a moment of ownership. Someone saying, enough. This is not who I want to be anymore. Maybe you felt that before. Maybe you're feeling it right now. That quiet, firm voice inside you that whispers, it's time. That voice is the real version of you. The version who knows you are capable of far more than what you've been settling for. Responsibility is the bridge between the life you have and the life you want. It's the moment you stop being a passenger and become the architect of your future. And once you cross that bridge, you begin to act differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to expect more from yourself, not out of pressure, but out of recognition of your potential. So ask yourself, what part of your life have you been avoiding responsibility for? What habit, what emotion, what dream, what decision have you placed on the shelf, hoping time would fix it? Because time doesn't fix anything, action does. Ownership does, and the moment you take full responsibility, you unlock the power to rewrite your entire story. There comes a moment in every transformation when you realize that growth is not just about changing your actions. It's about changing the way you see yourself. Because you can control your mind, your focus, your decisions, and your environment. But if you still see yourself as the person who fails, the person who quits, the person who isn't enough, then you will always return to the life you're trying to leave behind. This is why identity is the hidden force behind every lasting change. You cannot build a new life with an old identity. Most people try to improve while still believing they are the same person they were yesterday. They try to rise while clinging to the version of themselves that once felt small, insecure, or unprepared. They carry past failures like badges, thinking they define the limits of their future. But identity is not a memory. Identity is a choice. Identity is the story you decide to tell yourself about who you are becoming. And here's the truth most people never grasp. You don't grow into a new identity. You act your way into one. Every time you show discipline when you used to choose comfort, you're becoming someone stronger. Every time you stay committed when you used to quit, you are becoming someone more resilient. Every time you speak with confidence when you used to doubt yourself, you are becoming someone bolder. The actions come first and the identity follows. And once identity changes, actions become natural instead of forced. Think of a person who decides to run every morning. At first, they're not a runner. They're someone trying to run. But after enough days of showing up, something shifts. They wake up one morning and realize they're no longer trying. They are a runner. The identity has caught up. And once that happens, the behavior is no longer a struggle. It becomes who they are. Your transformation works the same way. You don't have to pretend to be perfect. You simply have to show up in alignment with the future you want. The more you act like the person you want to become, the faster that identity becomes real. And once it does, everything else becomes easier. Your habits, your discipline, your confidence, your resilience. The future version of you stops feeling distant and starts feeling natural. So ask yourself, who are you becoming? What identity are you ready to step into? What version of you is waiting on the other side of courage, consistency, and commitment? Because the moment you shift your identity, your entire life shifts with it. There is a powerful truth that many people never fully understand. Transformation doesn't happen in the moment you achieve the goal. Transformation happens in the moments when you choose not to give up on the way to the goal. It happens in the quiet places, the unseen hours, the private battles where no one is watching and no one is applauding. Because real growth is not loud, it's subtle, it's steady, it's built in the shadows long before it's revealed in the light. Every person you admire, every story of success you've ever heard, every life that has been transformed, they all have one thing in common: perseverance. The refusal to quit, the refusal to let circumstances dictate their destiny, the refusal to let fear or failure or doubt decide the outcome. They kept going even on the days when progress felt invisible, even on the days when the results weren't showing, even on the days when everything inside them whispered, "Stop." You see, the journey of transformation will test you. It will stretch you. It will challenge the beliefs you hold about yourself. It will expose your weaknesses, your excuses, your insecurities. But it will also reveal your strength. It will reveal your courage. It will reveal the resilience you never knew you had. And that's why perseverance is not just a skill. It's a declaration. A declaration that your future is worth the struggle. A declaration that you will not be defeated by temporary emotions or temporary obstacles. Most people quit not because they are incapable, but because they expect transformation to be comfortable. They think growth should be easy. But nothing meaningful is built without resistance. Pressure shapes diamonds, heat shapes steel, struggle shapes character, and perseverance is the bridge that carries you from who you are to who you're becoming. So ask yourself, what have you walked away from too early? What dream did you abandon because the journey felt heavy? What goal did you stop pursuing because the results weren't instant? And what would happen if you decided right now that you're done quitting on yourself? Because perseverance isn't about pushing endlessly. It's about committing wholeheartedly. It's about saying, I will keep going until the work is done. I will stay in the fight until I become the person I'm meant to be. And when you hold that mindset, when you refuse to give up, your transformation stops being a possibility and becomes a promise. Now it all comes together. The mind, the focus, the decisions, the environment, the responsibility, the identity, and the perseverance. These are not just concepts. They're the blueprint for a life transformed. The difference between who you are today and who you could be tomorrow is not luck, timing, or opportunity. It's control. Control over the things that matter, control over the choices that shape your destiny, control over the person you decide to become. Imagine your life as a blank canvas. Every thought, every focus, every decision, every environment, every action, every moment of responsibility, every choice to persevere, these are your brushstrokes. And here's the secret: the masterpiece you create is entirely in your hands. No one else can paint it for you. No one else can decide its colors, its textures, or its depth. The only thing standing between the life you have and the life you want is your willingness to take control and keep going. Transformation doesn't come when you fix one thing. It doesn't come when you hope for the right moment. It doesn't come when you wait for someone else to lead you. It comes when you take full ownership of the four things you can control: the mind that guides you, the focus that directs you, the decisions that define you, and the environment that shapes you. And when you align them with a relentless commitment to growth, identity, and perseverance, that's when the impossible becomes inevitable. That's when potential becomes reality. That's when ordinary life turns into extraordinary living. So ask yourself, are you willing to take control? Are you willing to guard your mind, sharpen your focus, make deliberate choices, and surround yourself with an environment that supports your growth? Are you ready to take responsibility, adopt the identity of your future self, and persevere through every obstacle that comes your way? Because transformation waits for no one. It rewards those who act, those who decide, those who refuse to settle, those who refuse to quit. And the moment you embrace this truth, your life begins to change instantly. Not gradually, not someday, but now. Every decision becomes more deliberate. Every focus becomes sharper. Every action becomes meaningful. Every environment becomes an ally. And every challenge becomes fuel for your growth. The power to transform is already within you. It always has been. The only question is, will you take it? Control these four things. Own your mind. Direct your focus. Make deliberate decisions. Shape your environment. Do this and watch your life transform instantly, profoundly, and irreversibly. Your future is waiting. Step into it.